What's up, folks? I'm Chris, your NFL writer here at Occupy Fantasy, here with a look at Sunday's two-game slate for NFL DFS contests on DraftKings. We also have a showdown slate this evening at 8 p.m. between Buffalo and Chicago that I'll talk about a little bit because I think most of you that watch this video, you'll probably be watching in time to have a little bit more time to think about that slate here today. Today's two-game slate is a lot more easy to digest, so let's just get right into the action. You see here, linked in the description below and on the screen, the daily plug article posted to occupyfantasy.com for subscribers. I'll actually go through some of the notes that we have on this slate for you to go through our top plays, but this is already updated for the two-gamer that locks at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and we also have rankings for the showdown slate this evening at 8 p.m. Starting with the two-gamer and some of the plays from the first game. Quarterback play in general from these two games is going to be fairly even, if that makes sense. There's not really any quarterback that we expect to play far more than any other. There's no Stetson Bennett or Joe Milton situation today. Tyler Shaw is going to be starting for the Saints. Him and Spencer Rattler both played about 40% of the snaps last week at quarterback, with Jake Haener cleaning up. Deckers here was waived. He's no longer on the roster. So Shaw probably going to be far more popular than Spencer Rattler because Shaw's going to be starting, but we expect both of these guys to play about a quarter and a half to 2 quarters, so they're both extremely viable. With Buffalo, Mitchell Trubisky and Mike White are in a legitimate competition for the backup job behind Josh Allen. It's not confirmed, but we're not expecting Josh Allen to play tonight. There's one Buffalo beat writer who speculated that because Trubisky started last week, it would make sense for Mike White to start tonight to get a look at him under center with the first unit, whatever that first unit looks like this evening. If this is a legitimate backup quarterback competition, that's not confirmed. It's just informed speculation that we have taken under advisement, and we actually think Mike White is a slightly better play than Mitchell Trubisky. But both these guys probably going to play about a quarter and a half to 2 quarters this evening, Mike White and Mitchell Trubisky. Bouchle here is not projected to get a ton of playing time, but is also an option for Buffalo. They have 3 guys. We think he'll be close to basically Jake Haener's usage tonight, so he's not really a serious option for us to consider on the 2-game slate. Might be interesting in showdown, though. On the other 2 teams here, I do think Chicago's only going to have 3 quarterbacks play as well. Case Keenum missed the last practice, so we're actually tentatively not expecting him to suit up for the Bears this evening. That means that Tyson Bagent isn't lined for the most playing time this evening and has probably also got a floor of about 1.5 to 2 quarters of playing time today. Caleb Williams and the Bears starters will probably play for about a quarter, and then Austin Reed here will probably clean up at the end of the game for the Bears. For Jacksonville, we are expecting all 4 of these guys to play, so that's why we're not interested in them, or they're ranked significantly further behind the 5 quarterbacks I mentioned here. Sean Rattler for New Orleans, White, Trubisky for Buffalo, and Tyson Bagent for Chicago. At running back today, Frank Gore is our favorite play with the Buffalo Bills. Looking at some of the notes that we have in our Daily Plug article that is updated, the reason that we like Frank Gore is because the Buffalo Bills only have 5 running backs on the roster. James Cook is not going to play, newly extended James Cook, so that means we just have 4 that are competing for opportunities, and one of those 4, Darrington Evans, left practice early on Friday with a hamstring injury, so we're not expecting him to play. This is not confirmed, but we do think Buffalo is now only going to have 3 running backs competing for opportunities. That will be Frank Gore and also Ray Davis, who is the clear backup to James Cook, so we don't expect him to get a ton of playing time. So it's probably going to be between Frank Gore, our favorite play, and Ty Johnson to get a ton of the work if Darrington Evans cannot go. Reggie Gilliam's more of like a fullback tight end player, so not really considering him for any running back opportunities here. If Evans is able to go, again, this is already pretty thin, and Ty Johnson has like a 3rd down passing game role on the established first team offense already. I would expect Evans to get a lot of work as well, but as of this point in time, not expecting him to play. Going to go with Frank Gore as our favorite play at the position this afternoon. For wide receivers, the New Orleans Saints had 2 guys that played a ton of opportunities last week. Mason Tipton played the most and had the best box score results in their game. But we also have USFL Stallions alum Kevin Austin Jr., who played right behind him a ton of snaps as well. when we look at how the Saints deployed their wide receivers in this game, starters Chris Olave and Rashid Shaheed did not play. But last week, Kevin Austin ran 39 routes, Mason Tipton ran 34 routes, and then slot receiver Cedric Wilson Jr. was right behind them there with 28 routes. I would kind of expect to see similar usage here if the starters are also sitting once again in Olave and Rashid Shaheed. These three guys, Wilson, far more high risk than Mason Tipton, and Kevin Austin Jr., who are probably two of the better low-risk plays in general on this slate, but especially with the Saints. On the Jacksonville side, former Cincinnati Bengal, longtime preseason legend here, Trenton Irwin, was targeted on 40% of his routes. He had 6 targets on 15 routes run last week for the Jaguars, and we think he probably has the highest floor from the Jacksonville side on this slate, so probably a good low-risk play at receiver as well. Tight end is pretty tough here. Our favorite play is going to be Zach Davidson with the Buffalo Bills. When we look at Davidson's usage last week, he only ran 10 routes, but he did receive 4 targets from Buffalo quarterbacks. So when he's on the field, he is targeted pretty heavily. And honestly, we're just trying to avoid taking 0 points at a position that is extremely, extremely tough to score points at. And it does seem like Davidson has one of the better upsides for playing time and opportunities on this slate. The field probably is going to play it a little quote-unquote safer and go with Colson Loveland, who probably will get some run with Caleb Williams in the starters, or Cole Kmet, who also has some passing game prowess, could play a little bit with Caleb Williams as well. And then that's really it for brand name guys. I guess we have Dalton Kincaid and Dawson Knox with the Buffalo Bills, but they played sparingly last week, so I wouldn't count on them playing a ton today. I think Zach Davidson actually on the Buffalo side is the best play as a result here. So that's kind of what I'm looking at for the 2-game slate. We can look at the Showdown slate a little bit. The Hall of Fame game was the last time we had an extensive preview of a preseason single-game Showdown contest, and I would obviously refer back to that for general strategy tips. But even though we are into the second week of the preseason here, the best plays on Showdown slates for low-risk contests, for high-risk contests, they continue to be the defenses, guys. The Bears defense is the favored side tonight if you care about that. Bears favored by 2.5 points right now. Bills underdog defense still pretty good, and that's because about 50% of the time the defenses score at least 5 points for us. They're often the only units that are going to be exposed to being able to score points for us for the entire game in preseason, so that's why we want to get them in our lineups, our low-risk lineups especially, even at the captain position. In this particular game, for low risk, we want Frank Gore in there. And then at quarterback, because these guys have high playing time floors, Tyson Bagent seems to be a good option tonight on the Chicago side. And on the Buffalo side, we mentioned Mitchell Trubisky should get a decent bit of run, and Mike White should get a decent bit of run as well. So I think that's probably our core. Throw in the kickers. The Bills will have 2 listed on this slate, but Tyler Bass is not going to play because he's recovering from an injury. So they do only have 1 available in Caden Davis. So he is an option. And then if we go to the Chicago side, you have Cairo Santos as the only kicker on the roster. So that pretty much rounds out your low-risk pool. If you consult our high-risk rankings for Showdown, our favorite captain plays in high-risk contests like this Showdown special with 10,000 to first place, our favorite captain plays are typically going to be the wide receivers that we think have the highest upside in these games. So I'm going to give you a couple of names here that we think are worth prioritizing. Tyrell Shavers has actually been mixing in with the first unit in joint practices for the Buffalo Bills, but he should play with the second unit because he's in a legitimate competition here for wide receiver 4, wide receiver 5 with guys like Elijah Moore and Curtis Samuel. Shavers has a lot of value for this team on special teams. He can play all 3 wide receiver positions. Bills beat writers are very, very high on Shavers here, and I do expect him to get a decent bit of run in this game. So I think he's a great captain option, one of our low-risk plays on the 2-game slate. A great high-risk play in general for both the 2-game slate and this Showdown slate. We like Caden Prather. He did not play last week, so I think he's going to be off everybody's radar. There's not really any stats from last week people can reference for usage, where he landed up on the field or anything like that. but I do think the Bills want to get a look at their rookie wide receiver here in Caden Prather, and he could be a little bit of an unknown commodity with a ceiling, so that makes him a good captain option. It only takes a couple of plays for a wide receiver to really break the slate. We saw a big catch from Bo Collins with the Giants that fell just short of the end zone yesterday, an 80-yard reception. We land on any one of those at the captain position with playing time so spread out. That's why we focus on the wide receivers as captains specifically for these kind of tournaments. On the Chicago side, we have Torrey ranked as a low-risk receiver on this slate, so that's why he stands out from the pack here. But a player that caught my attention when I was going through everything is going to be Ja'Day Walker here at wide receiver. He was targeted on just under 40% of the routes that he ran last week, and he ran 2/3 of those routes from outside wide receiver positions, led Chicago in air yards, could be a wide receiver that sees a little bit more opportunity today as well with the second and third units. So I would consider him as a captain option in these large field, high risk contests. So that's really where we're at on this slate. Good luck on the 2-game slate, guys. Good luck on the showdown slate this evening between Buffalo and Chicago. We will be back tomorrow with a little bit of a preview of the showdown slate between the Bengals and the Commanders on Monday Night Football to wrap up preseason week 2.